Aloha everyone. So it's been about 4 months since the devastating wildfires in Lahaina. And we've had some rain, we had some nice days of sun, so we're starting to see things start to green up. I figured today would be a good day to get the drone up in the air and see what kind of progress has been made in Lahaina town. Let's go take a look. So I was able to capture just about the entire burn zone for today's video. It actually takes 3 separate drone flights stitched together. And in this video, we're going to start at the southernmost tip of Lahaina. As you can see, we're flying over Puamana right now, the area that escaped most of the damage from the fire. And we're going to be heading north all the way up into the Waiakuli neighborhood. By the way, I'm going to include timestamps in the description down below for each neighborhood that we fly through. So if you have a particular neighborhood that you're interested in seeing updated drone footage for, and you want to skip right to that neighborhood, go ahead and check out the timestamps. But the whole video is worth watching because I'll share some nuggets all the way through. Okay, so now we're coming up on the area still in Puamana that did receive a lot of damage from the fire. Now we're coming up on Front Street. This is the southernmost tip of Front Street that curves up to the highway. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of people that watch this video and think that there really has not been a lot of progress as far as the cleanup. But do keep in mind that the EPA's focus was on removing hazardous materials first as a phase 1 of this project, which has just been completed, and now we're moving into phase 2, which is actually the debris removal. You'll also notice a lot of work trucks lined all the way up and down Front Street. I don't know for certain, but it looks like they are doing some work on the power lines. Now we're coming up on the condominium complex, Lahaina Shores. That's the high-rise building to the left of the screen. Lahaina Shores appears to be mostly undamaged. But just beyond it is 505 Front Street, which was a small little shopping center with restaurants and that sort of thing, completely destroyed by the fire. By the way, on the return flight later in the video, I will be farther inland, so if you're not seeing your neighborhood in this particular pass, you might catch it later in the video. Okay, so now we're coming up on Lahaina Wharf. To the left, you can see the Lahaina Harbor, and more in the center of the screen is the banyan tree. The good news is the banyan tree does show signs of life, so that is a really important landmark that I know a lot of people are really happy to see is likely to survive the fire. Hey, aloha everyone. So it's been about 5 months since the big Lahaina fire, and this week actually marks a major milestone in our recovery process. This is the week that we started phase 2 of the cleanup process, which is where we actually start to remove and relocate the actual ash and debris from the fire. So I figured today would be a good day to get the drone up in the air and just see what kind of progress they've made so far. Let's go take a look. This video is going to be a complete aerial tour of the Lahaina burn zone. And we're going to start at the southernmost point that was affected by the fire in a community called Puamana. Just like my last aerial tour of Lahaina, it does take several drone flights stitched together in order to cover the entire area that was impacted by the fire. If there's a particular neighborhood or condo community that you're interested in yourself and you want to jump right to that portion of the video, check out the description down below because I will provide timestamps for different locations. That being said, I will share interesting updates to all the different locations that we fly through, as well as pointing out the areas that I see the cleanup process has begun. So watch the entire video if you want to be fully informed on what is happening on the ground in Lahaina. As you can see, we're just now entering the area of Puamana that was heaviest hit by the fire. We have received a ton of rain on Maui over the last couple weeks, and one of the things that I wanted to observe for myself was if there's any visual evidence of runoff from that rain into the ocean. And as we start to fly over Front Street here and get a little bit closer to the ocean, you can see that the water is a little more brown than usual and certainly has received some of the runoff. How much of the runoff actually consists of toxic ash and debris from the fire is still yet to be determined. There is a group of scientists that rushed into the water to start collecting samples. Results of testing those samples won't be known for quite some time, but experts do say that the precipitation undoubtedly washed some amount of the fire residue into the ocean, either directly from the surface or from underground sources. Take a look at the right-hand side of your screen and you'll see a yellow excavator and several trucks that are loading the ash and debris. This is the first evidence that I've seen of the cleanup beginning. Now keep in mind, this is just the first week of phase 2 of the cleanup process, and it will take some time to ramp up the project. But as we pass Lahaina shores here on the left, you can see more heavy equipment being staged in the parking lot below. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, their goal is to clear at least 100 properties over the next 30 days. Now we're coming up on Lahaina Harbor and the wharf area, and you will see another yellow excavator to the right of the screen now. We're going to start a new drone flight here and continue to head north following along Front Street. But before we get to Front Street, we're going to cross right over the top of the world-famous banyan tree. If you watched my last video, you know that the banyan tree does appear to have survived the big fire. And I anticipate that as we continue to fly over, we'll see more and more green leaves as it recovers. Aloha everyone. So it's been about 7 months since the big Lahaina fire, and it's been around 6 weeks since I released my last full aerial tour of the Lahaina burn zone. Now in that last video, we had just started phase 2 of the cleanup process, so I'm really curious to see how much progress we've made over the past 6 weeks. Let's go check it out. So just like the last 2 aerial tours of Lahaina that I released, we're going to start on the far south end of the Lahaina burn zone in a community called Puamana. And we'll work our way all the way to the far north end of the burn zone. Also, just like last video, I've put timestamps in the description down below to different neighborhoods throughout Lahaina. So if you're mostly interested in a particular neighborhood, feel free to jump right to that timestamp. That being said, I think the whole tour is worthwhile just because it shows all the progress that's been made so far in different parts of Lahaina town. According to Honolulu District's U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, a total of 193 lots have already had their debris removal completed in Lahaina as of February 29th, 2024. We're coming up on the very beginning part of Front Street, and we're about to fly over the first few lots that have been completely cleared. So one of the ways to tell if a lot has been cleared or not from this elevation is by looking at the color. The lots that are red or brown are showing off the color of the dirt after the ash has been removed. Now that being said, as we continue along the flight, we will notice several lots that have had gray gravel spread over the red dirt after the lot has been cleared. So the color is not the only indication of a cleared lot. At the top of the screen, right on the beach, you see a concrete high-rise. That is Lahaina Shores condominium complex. One major update since my last video is that the county has determined where the permanent disposal site will be for the Lahaina wildfire ash and debris. After taking into consideration more than 2,700 survey responses from the community, Mayor Richard Bisson and the County of Maui Department of Environmental Management announced that the Central Maui landfill will be the location of the permanent disposal site. My personal opinion is that the Central Maui landfill is probably the best choice out of a difficult decision, but I'm curious to hear what you think. If you feel like sharing, go ahead and write in the comment section below what your first choice would have been for the disposal site. As you can see, we started a new flight here, this time above the Lahaina harbor, and we're about to fly right over the top of the banyan tree. There are still quite a few green leaves, especially on this side of the tree. Aloha everyone. So it's been almost 9 months since the big Lahaina fire, and it's been 2 months since my last aerial update of the progress being made in the burn zone. Since that last video, cleanup crews have achieved a few major milestones with a ton of work being completed. In fact, right now I'm standing in my neighborhood, Kahoma Village, and as you can see behind me, cleanup in this area has officially started. We're also to the point where we can start the planning and permitting process for residents' homes to be rebuilt. In this video, I'm going to get the drone up in the air so you can see all the work that has been completed in Lahaina town to this point for yourself. And I'll talk about all the important updates. Let's go take a look. Alright, so just like my previous videos, we're going to start on the far south side of Lahaina town and work our way north along the coastline. And then we'll turn around and circle back a little bit farther up the hillside. We'll also follow Lahaina Luna Road pretty much to the top of the burn zone. As always, I'll provide timestamps in the description down below to some of the key neighborhoods so you can jump ahead to any of the neighborhoods that are of the most interest to you. Right now, we're flying over the top of the Puamana community. And if you look closely, there's a number of properties within this neighborhood that have had all of their ash and debris completely cleared and the erosion control placed over the top. According to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, by the time this video is released, they will have cleared over 800 properties of the ash and debris. When you consider that they just started the residential cleanup process around 100 days ago, there's been a lot of progress that has been made over the past few months. And at this point, they estimate that they're clearing roughly 14 properties per day. To give you a point of reference as far as our location, we just started flying over the southernmost part of Front Street. We'll be leaving the Puamana neighborhood and coming up on the Shark Pit neighborhood. And as you can see for yourself, since my last video, there's been a ton of progress made in this particular area of Lahaina town. Now, if we do some quick math and consider there was around 2,000 properties that originally needed to be cleared, and we cleared over 800 already, and we continue to clear an average of 14 per day, it appears that we only need around 3 more months to complete the residential cleanup process. Now, to be clear, that 3-month estimate is my estimate, and the Army Corps of Engineers is certainly not promising that everything will be completed in 3 months. Okay, so we're now coming up on another major landmark. You'll see the LAHAINA Shores condominium complex on the left-hand side of the screen, right next to the ocean. And just past LAHAINA Shores, you'll see 505 Front Street. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see that we are approaching Lahaina Harbor and the banyan tree area. From here, we're going to start a new flight in roughly the same location, and we're going to continue heading north, flying right over the top of the banyan tree. It's kind of difficult to see from this particular angle, but as we approach, you'll see that crews did remove a large portion of the banyan tree that did not survive the fire. Aloha everyone. It's a beautiful sunny day in Lahaina, and I figured today'd be a good day to do an update on the recovery process here as we're approaching nearly 10 months since the big Lahaina fire. Now, we've made a ton of progress. As you can see behind me, this is my neighborhood, Kahoma Village, where they have completed the cleanup process, and there's been a ton of progress in the town itself as well. And on top of that, the county is now to the point where they're issuing permits for residents to start rebuilding their homes. So let's get the drone up in the air so you can see for yourself exactly what Lahaina town looks like right now and how much progress we've made over the past month. Let's take a look. Just like my previous videos, we're going to start the tour on the far south end of Lahaina town in an area called Puamana. We're going to follow the coastline heading north all the way up to the Waiakuli neighborhood before circling all the way back a little bit farther up the mountainside. We're also going to take a flight following Lahaina Luna Road all the way up to the bypass and back down the mountainside following the Kahoma Stream. As always, I'll share timestamps in the description down below to the key neighborhoods and landmarks that we pass along the way, so you can jump to any of the areas that are of the most interest to you. So again, we're flying right over the top of the Puamana community and coming up on the part of the neighborhood that was impacted by the fire. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see the first few lots that have been cleared with the gray gravel spread over the top of the red dirt for erosion control. According to the Army Corps of Engineers, as of the first week in June, they've cleared 1,183 residential lots of their ash and debris, and they have just 216 more lots that have not yet been cleared. So for the first time since I started doing these video updates of Lahaina town, it's obvious that the majority of the cleanup process has been completed. To give you a point of reference as far as our location, we're now flying over the southernmost end of Front Street. You know, I was really curious to see if I could find any evidence of new construction starting on any of the cleared lots. The county has issued a handful of building permits for residents to start rebuilding their homes. But just like the cleanup process, I imagine it'll take a while for the building permit review process to ramp up in speed. According to the report at the last Lahaina disaster recovery meeting, a total of 10 permits have officially been issued, with around 54 permits currently under review. So it sounds like they have found a way to streamline the permitting timeline to the point where it only takes an average of 2 to 5 business days to intake a permit application, and only an average of 15 business days to go through the whole plan review as long as all the architects, engineers, and consultants respond to comments in a timely manner. By the way, we just passed Lahaina Shores condominium complex on the left-hand side of the screen, and we're about to fly past the shops at 505 Front Street. We're also passing the area known as Moku'ula, which is a native Hawaiian historic and cultural landmark that was buried more than a century ago. The land was considered sacred and was the site of King Kamehameha III's royal palace. In April of this year, the governor announced that he intends to take unilateral action to restore this historic area and return it to the people of Lahaina. We're now coming up on the Lahaina Harbor and the banyan tree area. We're going to start a new flight and we'll fly directly over the top of the banyan tree. We'll also be passing over what remains of the King Kamehameha III elementary school. Just past the banyan tree, you can see there is a crew working on the cleanup of what once was the Wharf Cinema Center. This is the area that held Lahaina's movie theater and restaurants like Down the Hatch, Captain Jack's, and Cool Cat's Cafe. Aloha everyone. So we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of the big Lahaina fire. And while it's definitely an emotional time as we remember the tragedy of the event, I think it's also important we take some time to celebrate the progress that we've made in recovery over the past year. So I'm going to get the drone up in the air and we're going to do a full aerial tour of Lahaina town so everyone can see for themselves just how far we've come. Let's go take a look. Just like I've done in my previous aerial tours of Lahaina, I'm going to start on the far south end of Lahaina town in an area called Puamana. And just like always, I'll provide timestamps in the description below to the key neighborhoods and landmarks throughout the town so you can jump forward to any of the areas that are of the most interest to you if you'd like. That being said, I'll be sharing a lot of statistics on the recovery process throughout the video, so the whole video is worthwhile to watch. We're now approaching the part of Puamana that was impacted by the fire, and as you can see, just about all of the lots have been cleared of their ash and debris, with gray gravel spread over the top for erosion control. And as we continue on, we're going to fly right over the top of the far south end of Front Street, where Front Street connects with the Honoapi'ilani Highway. One major sign of progress is the highway itself, which is on the far right-hand side of the screen. You'll see that there are cars flowing through the middle of town on the highway. The County of Maui just reopened the highway on August 1st to through traffic only in an attempt to alleviate some of the traffic congestion that we're experiencing on the west side. We're now flying over the Shark Pit residential neighborhood, and as you can see, almost all of the lots have been cleared of their ash and debris. In fact, at the time of recording, the Army Corps of Engineers had announced that out of the 1,399 residential lots that needed to be cleared, only 29 remain uncleared. That means that 98% of all the residential lots in Lahaina have already been cleared. I personally think that it's impressive progress to have almost cleared all of the lots within the first year after the fire, especially considering how slow things got started. We're now approaching the Lahaina Harbor and about to fly over where the King Kamehameha III elementary school once was, and as you can see, they are working on clearing that portion of town as well. Starting a new flight here, flying over the top of the harbor, we're coming up on the banyan tree right in the center of the screen now. It's been a while since I've done any updates on the banyan tree, but as you can see for yourself, there's still plenty of green leaves that are showing, even though a portion of the tree did get cut down that was not able to survive the fire.